Can you hear me now? Yes? All right. There's a resounding levels of thumbs up. I got to say, this is the most interesting environment in which I've actually given a presentation. I think I can hardly hear myself, so I hope you all can hear me. Nonetheless, it gives me immense pleasure to be here. This is my second trip to Mumbai ever, and this is my first trip to NASScom. And I'm excited to talk to you all about the future of content creation. So a little backstory. Until recently, I ran Google Search product strategy globally, and also launched many of Google Search's generative AI efforts that you heard Suleiman talk about. Suleiman's team in DeepMind builds the technology, and I'm responsible for launching that through Google Search. And I also, in my former life, headed up Twitter. I don't know why this keeps going back to the, the previous slide, but I also headed up Twitter, and I headed up product and business strategy and operations for Twitter. Excuse me. And I'm a graduate of Stanford Business School, and also a graduate of software engineering, bachelor's and master's from Imperial College, London. So over the course of this next 20 minutes, I'm going to do a whirlwind tour of what I believe are going to be 5 of the most incredibly important shifts that's going to shape the future of content generation for years to come. What I've been asked to do is lay the foundation that you're going to hear more and more about over the course of today, rest of today, and tomorrow. I also want to warn you that I'm going to go at a breakneck speed. So there's a lot of ground that I'm trying to cover that hopefully lays the foundation. But I'm here for the remaining 2 days. So if you see me walking around anywhere, please grab me. You can also reach out to me through LinkedIn. And it is my pleasure to talk about this, because you can imagine, as the person who's responsible for product strategy and business strategy for Google Search, content is the core of what we do. Though I must also say that I'm talking to you about this not in the context as an employee or a former employee of Google, but as a person who spends a lot of my time thinking about where the space is going. So a lot of this is my own thoughts, and hopefully you find this informative. I want to share, because I know this is the post-lunch session, and many of you are waking up after a very beautiful lunch that we had. I want to share with you a few equations, because I know we're all mathematical, we're all engineers at heart, and I want to talk to you about 5 important equations. If there's nothing else you're going to take away over the course of the next 20 minutes, or now 19 minutes, is these 5 equations. And I've rolled them out. The first is that agency is the new battleground for content. Secondly, human knowledge, and more importantly, human-created knowledge, is the new gold rush. Thirdly, trust is directly proportional to observability and alterability. The more observability and alterability you introduce to content, the more you trust that content. Fourth is that content creation will therefore present new opportunities that we haven't even thought about so far. Fifth is that business models will massively evolve in this new age of AI. These are the 5 points, or these are the 5 equations I would love for you to take away, if nothing else, over the course of the next 20 minutes. And I'm going to spend my time into each one of them in detail to make sure you understand. I'm also going to present mini case studies to put this theory into practice so that it is much more understandable. What I want to say is that my idea here is to ignite a discussion, socialize ideas that you may have heard of or partly understood or very well understood, but intentionally my job here is to help connect the dots. And so some of these ideas are not my own, but hopefully what I'm able to do is to connect these for you so that it's much more palatable, much more understandable, and more importantly, you're able to understand the implications of what this means to your individual businesses and pursuits going forwards. Okay, let's start. The first one, agency is the new battleground. What do I mean by that? We're at this incredible point that you heard this morning from my former colleagues, Feifi Lee and Suleiman, that we're at this point where, to date, we've been in a world of human-led and technology-enabled innovation. At this moment in time, technology is taking over, and humans are enabling it. And the question that becomes next for us is, as technology continues to lead, what role does humans play in this space? And what we're seeing is that, why is this happening, is that AI is narrowing the gap between thought and execution. Let me put this into practice. Here's a case study. My bold claim to you all is that creativity is the new human productivity. What do I mean by that? If you plot in x-axis and y-axis time, and y-axis being value of our energy, then we're at this incredible point where machines are a better investment of our future productive gains than before. Therefore, what we're going to see is that our pent-up energy, which was previously deployed for productivity, is actually now going to be used for incredible human creativity. And what we're going to see is that to enhance our productivity and enhance our creativity, we're going to see data that is actually trained on you, based on what you selectively decide to share. We're going to see incredible intelligence that is actually going to be infused with your preferences and purchase history, and bring objectivity to decision making. And it is going to be everywhere and constantly updated, and it's going to be interconnected to everything. And what this means is that applications, and this is the most important slide in this first shift, is that applications that protect your agency will ultimately win. Human agency is the ability to control your choices and your decisions. And so what we're seeing, I'm going to put this in a case study for you to understand. This is Google search. Previously, I made a search for best recipes to cook for Thanksgiving. And till date, it produced the 20 blue links in the first page. And the search engine optimizations happen to make sure the best content is produced. But what's happening next is that if you now use the latest Gemini models, we're actually giving you the answer. If you want to know what's the best Thanksgiving recipe, here's the answer. And there's some level of human agency that's being afforded to say, if you don't like this answer, you can redraft. But let's fast forward this. What happens if machines over time learn that you're a family of 4, and that you actually have one person who's pescatarian, one person who's vegetarian or vegan, and that every other Thanksgiving, you either cook at home or you go to your in-laws for Thanksgiving, which is a very common thing in the US. And so what happens is you are going to be, over time, given that ability to control what is actually being generated by AI. And so once the AI learns that these are your unique preferences, and that's what we mean by personalization, the answer that's going to be here is going to become that much more relevant. Then the question you all have to ask is, well, what then is going to be my agency? What else would I be able to control? Because if it actually knows everything about me and personalizes the results for me, then where am I in this loop? Where is the human in the loop to make choices and explicit controls? And this is what I mean about applications that continues to give humans, us, the control will ultimately win. So we're going to see this incredible race where AI is going to get better at knowing us and producing results, and then it's still going to need, and applications that still allow us to provide control is going to basically be the winner, as opposed to it completely doing the work for us. And so the slide that I want you to kind of summarize this section is that your sense of control and power, your capacity to influence, and your ability to manage wide range of tasks and situations is the definition of human agency. And this is going to be the battleground, as you're going to see a plethora of applications that are going to be built. Which application gives you the control and gives you the sense of control is going to be the ultimate winner. All right, so that's the first section. Let's move on to the second section. Human knowledge is the new gold rush. What do I mean by that? We all have seen incredible breakthroughs in generative AI, and incredible developments in what could be created that I call as synthetic content. And we're also seeing Sora that's just got launched with incredible lifelike video that's got produced, and we're all mesmerized at what it's been able to do with very little prompting and very little data, which is incredible. But at the same time, certainly in the US, and we're also starting to see this globally, a launch of litigious constraints that are being placed in terms of what is the protection that's being offered to content, especially human-created content, because that is the training data that's being used in order to be able to infer and generate artificially generated content. And we also saw landmark cases. In August last year in the US, we saw that synthetic content cannot be copyrighted, which offers some level of protection to human-created content. But we're going to see a world where as AI and human intelligence comes together to form augmented intelligence, we're going to get to a world where very quickly generative AI has an intellectual property problem. And questions around what is derivative versus transformative work, and where do you draw the line, and what is the right of fair use, and fundamentally, is generative AI hindering or helping innovation, are going to be some of the most existential questions we're going to be asking all over, from the legal framework to the industry. And as entrepreneurs, as developers, as technologists in this room, there are three things I would like you to be thinking about, which is, first, if you're a developer, the word data provenance has to be featured very highly in your thinking. In other words, where did the data that I'm using coming from? Secondly, if you're creators, you should be thinking about protection and compensation of my content. And thirdly, if you're a business and if you're sitting on a war chest of proprietary data, how do I protect it? But most importantly, how do I redraft a new contract with all of my all of the users of my content who are using that content for derivative work? How do I actually add another clause to make sure that I get fairly compensated for the data that I have created? And one of the things that I want to bring back with why human-created knowledge is important is that, if you're Amazon and they've done a fantastic job in actually summarizing for a particular product, why are the reasons why people are buying it? And that's what you see at the top there. What we are seeing is that actually, even in a world where there is synthetic content that is created, that's generated from AI, that's generated from text or consumer reviews, people still look at the individual reviews that humans have actually created, and they're using that to form their decisions. So this is why premium will always be placed on human-created knowledge. All right, let's move on. The third section, trust is directly proportional to observability and alterability. Okay? By the way, each of these five things that I'm talking about are billions of dollars of ideas and industries that I'm hoping each of you are thinking about. And if the next big startup is solving one of these problems, then I'm really glad to have contributed towards that conversation. All right, so trust is directly proportional to observability and alterability. What do I mean by that? More and more of us are going to be asking this question: do I trust the information that my AI is serving me? This is going to be, as Suleiman mentioned this morning, you're all going to have your own personal agents. These personal agents, with the affordance of some level of human agency, are still going to be making decisions for us. And the question that's going to be asked is, can I trust it? And this is not a new question. ML bias is actually a very well-known concept, and it's being very well studied in the industry, and we still don't have answers for it. And that machines today are making decisions on who's going to likely to commit a crime for insurance purposes, who sees ads for good housing, who should be eligible for same-day delivery, and who hears about particular research that I'm doing and opportunities in that space. ML all around us are making decisions already for us in terms of what the content is being served. But imagine a world where personal agents are, by you, and are actually telling you what you're going to see, then how can you trust those agents? And how can you trust the content that's being produced by those agents? That's going to be the key question. And it all comes back down to, fundamentally, in the ML process, how is data collected and analyzed and annotated? So that is the training data, how it's collected and annotated. That's where bias is introduced. And we don't have to go that far. We can actually take a look at Wikipedia, the largest source of human-created knowledge in the world. Wikipedia, it has its flaws, but one thing it has taught us is that the trust levels in general are fairly high with Wikipedia. Why? Because the content is open, observable, and alterable. And so what we need to do is that we need to remove the obscurity and the alterability. We need to remove the obscurability and increase the alterability and promote traceability of the training data sets. And so what do I mean by that? We need to remove the obscurity as to how much and what percentage and what weights are being afforded to any data on your training sets. And we need to ensure that systems are continuously updated in ways that allows us to edit and alter in a public and transparent way, especially if we see bias in that data. And lastly, we need to instill confidence so that people know where does this data come from. Instilling confidence at that data will promote confidence all the way above. So I'm drawing an analogy that we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. We need to actually learn lessons from where we have seen this work, for example, at Wikipedia. But I'll leave you with this thought in this section, which is, I did a search on Perplexity AI recently, which is, where's the best place to get Gujarati food in Mumbai? It's my second time in Mumbai, as I said. I was very keen to understand where is authentic food, and I did the search. And what's interesting is it gave me this results, and to give me the confidence that I'm not hallucinating, I'm actually knowing what I'm talking about, there is this use of sources at the top that you've seen. Perplexity is not the only product that does that. Many products today are doing that to instill confidence and trust in the data that it's using to generate the summary. However, what I foresee happening very quickly is, if I'm a content creator who's created this content that you're seeing there before, and in the future, if I'm not coming through to this content because there's no blue links for me to click anymore, then how am I going to get compensated that you have used my data to train and come up with the summaries, and all you've done is citation? How do I ensure that each of those things at the top are ranked as highly as possible and I get compensated? Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to see is that that source attribute is going to become the new battleground for search engine optimization. So if you are in marketing departments of your companies, the question you should be asking is not search engine optimization of the 10 blue links, but how does my content get very highly ranked up in an AI summary? All right, the fourth concept, or fourth shift that I want to talk about is content creation will therefore produce new opportunities. This is particularly important if you're in the world of media, brands, or creators. And so there's a worry, especially among media in Hollywood as a starting point, that there's going to be core of content creation is going to be destroyed. But instead, what I believe, and many of us believe, is that there's going to be a bimodal growth. We're going to see that fundamentally core is only going to get stronger, and there's going to be a long tail of periphery content that's going to become 100x bigger. What do I mean by that? There's going to be, in a not too distant world, that because the cost of content creation has come so low, if you're a brand or if you're a media agency, the cost has come so low that the risk and the ROI that you're going to take in making sure I need to land this one feature movie in a summer blockbuster right, or I need to get this one particular ad perfectly right to hit my target audience, that pressure is going to be alleviated. The cost of content creation has just become lower, and you've been able to appeal to a longer tail of audience. And so what you're going to see is that instead of appealing to the critical mass, those folks who are on social media who thumbs up, thumbs down on a particular movie or a particular campaign that you've launched, you're going to start focusing on your credible mass, the true audience for the content that you're creating, the true audience for the movie that you're making, the true audience for the brand that you want to reach. And that long tail is going to engage and is going to become a new audience and is going to engage with your content in new ways that you have not actually seen in the past. And the other thing that we're going to see is that there's going to be a birth of blockchain 2.0, where there's going to be ways in which creators and consumers of created content are able to engage with each other in new ways, and that you can distribute, protect, and monetize content in ways you have not done before through blockchain. All right, my final point, and then I'll conclude, which is business models in the age of AI is going to rapidly change. And many of you are actually sitting on gold, but you may not know it. So if there's something that I want you to walk away from this session today is, if you're a business, please think about how is your data non-portable, and can you protect in ways so that you can actually use your data as your new moat. And there's 3 vectors of differentiation that's going to matter. I would like you to ask 3 questions for the data that you have in your organization. First, is it in any way a unique data set? Secondly, do you have a unique distribution advantage over your data? And thirdly, can you, if you don't already have today, build a revolutionary interface for users and enterprise to access your data? And I want to leave you this section with a case study and a concept called bottled knowledge. Imagine a world where you are now Berkshire Hathaway sitting on 30 years worth of investment history that you made. Charles Munger and Warren Buffett have, and that data of all the trades they've made is a unique proprietary data set. That is their moat. And imagine if they could actually package that knowledge or bottle that knowledge and actually sell it to investment firms and financial planners all around the world. And more importantly, imagine if they can actually sell it directly to you. So next time you're making a trade, you're not going to a financial planner, you're not going to your broker, but instead you're talking to this agent, this bottled knowledge that is telling you based on 30 years worth of trade, this is the particular trade pick to make, this is the right time to make that trade, and this is what you should do post making that trade. That is the power of unique data sets that have a distribution advantage with a revolutionary user interface. So that's the question each of you should be asking, which is, what is in my company the secret sauce? What is that bottled knowledge that I can actually figure out new ways to monetize? And at the same time, be aware, there is an increasing perversion of certain business models that are liable to be gamed or constrained by AI. What do I mean by that is, if AI becomes incredibly brilliant in the matching algorithm, and you come in and you find and you go, then what happens to dating sites that are optimizing on the number of people that you're actually coming on the platform, turn left and turn right? Do they become unsustainably effective? Similarly, if you're actually are in the music business and you provide apps that are spending time on the platform, and if they're coming in and actually finding their particular music straight away, or worse yet, if they're actually tuning into synthetic content, how do music apps keep you on the platform for longer? It may not be possible anymore. So this is actually having some very interesting business model implications on the other side as well. All right, in this session, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you had a whistle-stop tour of 5 shifts that are profoundly going to impact content and future of content creation. I do appreciate that I went through this at breakneck speed, and there's probably hours worth of session to deep dive into each one of these concepts. I'm here for the next 2 days. My name is Lakshmi Shankar. You can see me up on LinkedIn, and I'm keen to hear from you. And thank you so much for affording me this time post-lunch. Thank you.
For more content on tech and leadership, subscribe to NASScom YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.